We're back with the best of Bleav Network Hour on Stadium. Do you believe?
We're back, baby. It's the Charities Try Pitch Free Throws because they are free. Josh Fisher, Alexander, Toss Me the Rock, Tosopoulos, DJ, Nikki, Snacks, Kreider, best to Bleav right here on Stadium. College football playoff this weekend, Ohio State versus Georgia, TCU, Michigan. We have Josh Perry joining Chimdi Chekwa, Brian Browning of Bleav in Buckeyes to talk about the Georgia-Ohio State game. So let's check this clip out.
I think that there is a game plan here for Ohio State to be able to move the football. We saw what LSU did in the SEC championship game, 500 yards passing, and they hit some shots. CJ's going to have to be accurate. We've seen him do that. Marv's going to have big catches. We've seen them do that. It's going to be tough running the football, but they're going to have to stick with it even if it's not working. But when they hit those pass plays, they have to hit big ones, and there's going to be some guys not named Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Ibuka. They're going to have some big catches in this one.
Yeah, and you look at Georgia. So Georgia lost 8 guys to the NFL last year. You can't really tell that much based on how well the defense has continued to play, even though they lost those guys. They're third when it comes to third down efficiency, stopping guys on third downs. They're number 1 when it comes to the red zone, so now allowing teams to score. But you talked about Ohio State's offense, high-powered offense, ability to get big yards, big chunks of yards in the passing game. And when I was watching them play against Michigan, that offense didn't necessarily show, right? I wouldn't blame the offense for the loss, but we didn't see Ohio State doing what they do great and doing it at their best in the big game.
Look, everything they've listed, right? Georgia, great on defense. We know that. They're extremely stout, extremely big, but their red zone defense. And that was, to me, like, a big issue I found in the Michigan game, like the biggest game for Ohio State all year, their inability to close the door and their inability to score in the red zone. And I think that's going to be just going to be very problematic. Like, that's why you needed a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba, because then you would have him, you would have Henderson back. You would have had, obviously, MHJ and then Emeka Ibuka in there. Like, and then Fleming's your fourth, and then Stover is your tight end decoy, or like your tight end guy in the flat, or you're in the middle to, like, as a safety valve. But now, like, you lose such a major presence, and you really need all the help on the offense you can get. And if they're the best red zone team, like, I feel very underwhelmed by this Ohio State chances.
Yeah, it's a 6.5 point spread in favor, obviously, of the Bulldogs. I think one thing that's a little underrated too is that Stetson Bennett went to New York this season. Stetson Bennett wasn't even supposed to be their quarterback going into last season, right? And he won a CFP national championship. What this guy has become since then is an even better player than he was last year. Last year, he was a great decision maker. He was a guy that didn't turn the ball over, and he ended up making some clutch plays. But now he's a guy that ended up as a Heisman contender. He didn't get the award, of course. Caleb Williams did, deservedly so. And I just think that, like, you can't sleep on this offense for this Georgia team either, not to mention they had the best defense last year. They're the best defense this year. And unfortunately, Josh, I just don't think it's going to be enough for the Buckeyes. And
little confidence goes a long way. And,
yeah.
For Stetson to win the Natty and then have a great season, that's confidence. And then, of course, you play with a chip on your shoulder. You feel like if you're in the discussion to win the Heisman, if you're going to New York, then you probably feel like you deserve to win it as well. You're the only undefeated team. So he's going to play with the chip on his shoulder. I think Georgia covers here.
I'm with you. I think that Stroud is lost. It's not only his fault, but he's lost both big games at home and, in the big house. So then you go to the other side of the football, like you were saying. Stetson Bennett lost the SEC championship last year. Didn't matter. Came back and won the national championship. He was down in the national championship against Alabama. They've been undefeated this season. They've strolled right through by and large, and except for the Mizzou game, and are heading into the college football playoff. I think the more interesting game is the TCU game. I mean, that to me, whoever has more rushing yards wins that game. I know it's maybe not a hot take, but that's where I'm looking at. What's the spread real quick there, Toss?
I think it's Michigan -7.5.
Nick, cover. Who do you think covers?
I think TCU covers.
I agree.
Okay.
But you're not willing to. You wouldn't be willing to money line them, though, would you?
Maybe for a little bit, but I still think this Michigan team's better. But
yeah,
I think TCU's got magic. You need magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that you do. All right. Both games are going to be great. Obviously, New Year's Eve. I hate hate that. Good if you're going, it's a fun event, but for the watchers and the viewers, horrible.
Why?
It makes no.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really watch it because I've got plans.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me. All right, let's kick to Joe D of First Team and Hack City as he talks recruiting. So Joe DeLeon saying that USC had a bad. First of all, I don't know how you could say USC had a bad recruiting class when they got the number 1 player in the recruiting
Second
class.
of all, got destroyed on Twitter by
manhandled
and the rest of the USC alumni.
Lindell, Eugene White. Yeah, I mean, rightfully so. First of all, they had the number 1 receiver, or arguably the number 1 receiver in the transfer portal,
and the number 1 quarterback, right?
Yeah, I mean, they dominated. Like, and let me ask you
number
guys
2
this.
quarterback because ours is number 1.
I mean, it depends what site you looked at.
Yeah,
really quickly, for the bigger schools, is the transfer portal almost as important as the recruiting class?
Definitely, because it's very plug and play. Like, you can get guys that are ready to be day 1 starters. Like, you know, if you're a team that's on the cusp of winning that conference championship or getting that 9th win or getting to the Natty, right? And you've got a couple of pieces that depart to go to the NFL or transfer. You got to find guys that are ready to go right now. You can't look to freshmen to fill those voids. Sometimes you can, but that's very rare.
Yeah, I agree with Nick. I mean, look at the USC team. They're the perfect example. They bring in the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and
2 receivers, his top receivers.
And 2 incredible receivers, and they go from a 5-win team to a 10-win team. Like, I think the proof is in the pudding. But I also just, you know, another ice cold take from Joe DeLeon, and not surprising that it was ice cold because he's right by that nice little breezy window unit next to him. So there you go.
Yeah, that ice cold take. We'll be back, maybe cracking some ice cold beers in the last segment. Maybe not. You'll see, and you'll just have to tune in to find out. Fisher, Tesopoulos, Kreider, Charity Stripe, Best to Bleav on the Stadium.
Hang tight. We'll be right back in just a second with some more great Bleav content on Stadium.